campaign and the June 18th Moral March on Washington. This webinar is being hosted by Massachusetts Peace Action and the Green Rainbow Party, and I'm going to be the MC. So my name is Kate, and I'm a student here in Boston where I've lived for my whole life, and I'm currently interning with Mass Peace Action. And part of this internship has been organizing students around Massachusetts alongside the other interns to join us in DC on June 18th. I guess myself and lots of other students and young people in general have quite a bit of self-interest in the Poor People's Campaign and its work to improve our present and our future living conditions. And we've also got a lot of energy that we're going to be bringing with us to DC, which is why it's been fun to organize students. I personally have only ever been to DC for one other action, so I'm particularly excited to just be there and physically share space with all of these other people from across the country who have been fighting for such similar things in solidarity with each other for years and years, and for a lot of people decades, and now I get to be there with them. That's what I'm most looking forward to about June 18th. And yeah, so tonight you're going to be learning about what the Poor People's Campaign and the Moral March on Washington actually even are, why it's so important to Mass Peace Action and the Green Rainbow Party, and why we're so invested in this march on June 18th, and then how you can get involved and how by the end of tonight you can be signed up to join us. So first, I'm going to introduce Jenny, who's going to open us up with a song. Go ahead, Jenny.
Thank you, Kate. My name is Jenny Bonham Carter. I run the music and arts for Massachusetts Peace Action, Poor People's Campaign. And I love the fact that this campaign really highlights the importance of the arts in all struggle. And particularly on a day like this, perhaps, music can be an instrument of saying those things that we don't even have words for. So sing along, on mute, unfortunately, but sing along. It's a call and response. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're gonna set it right again. Sing with me. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. There's a great trouble in the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're gonna set it right again. We need healing. We need healing across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We need healing across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We need healing across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're gonna set it right again. We need justice across the land. We need justice across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We need justice across the land. What are we gonna do? We're gonna set it right again. We need justice across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're gonna set it right again. We're building a movement across the land. We're building a movement across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're building a movement across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're building a movement across the land. We're gonna set it right again. We're gonna set it right again. gonna set it right. We're gonna set it right again. What are we gonna do? We're gonna set it right again.
Thank you, Jenny, so much. That's such a good way to get us started. It's really been through the Poor People's Campaign for me that I've truly learned and appreciated the power of music and how joyful it can be. So thanks for starting us off with that. And now I'm going to introduce Vaughn, who's one of the tri-chairs of the Poor People's Campaign in Massachusetts. And he's just going to take us through what the Poor People's Campaign actually is and why we're going to DC on June 18th.
So let me first of all say that I'm delighted to be here with everyone. Mass peace action is dear to me. I grew up as a child of peace activists, particularly in the fight against the war in Vietnam. My parents were deeply involved in that. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, grows out of the movement that was first led by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, when he was a student at Boston University, and shortly after that, read a book called The Other America. The Other America, that was written by a gentleman named Michael Harrington. In this book, what Michael Harrington talked about was another America, America where there was a lot of poverty existing that many people had not focused on. This book called The Other America led to what Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was the president at that time, called the War on Poverty. Once Dr. King read that book, that's when he began to speak out and address the issue of the other America. In fact, there is a speech that he gave, which was entitled The Other America. From there, he expanded himself from thinking about segregation to working on economic justice and economic rights. That led to people like A. Philip Randolph launching this March on Washington to what we now call the Poor People's Campaign. From there, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King began to be involved in organizing people in the South, particularly around issues related to economic justice, helped to try to lead a sanitation worker strike in Memphis. Many of us realized that he was assassinated the night at the hotel in Memphis, trying to organize and lead that strike. Dr. King, prior to that time, in some of his speeches, started speaking out on the three systemic evils, as he called him. The first one was the issue of racism. This was his last speech that he delivered. The second was extreme militarism. And the last was extreme materialism, and the last was militarism. Again, the three issues that he talked about was militarism, racism, and extreme materialism. But after that, we really did not get much more out of the Poor People's Campaign, because once he was assassinated, many movements split off and went into many different directions. Yes, there were movements that occurred after him, but no one took up the mantle. No one actually addressed fully the issue of poverty. Yes, we did have the Moynihan report, but we really did not have a focus on the issue of poverty. Reverend William Barber, who existed in North Carolina, who was the chairman of the NAACP in North Carolina, had been organizing Moral Mondays, leading marches to the North Carolina State House to fight against voter suppression that had been occurring in North Carolina through the NAACP there. And through his galvanizing of forces and his Moral Mondays, his Monday movement took off in a variety of other states. And one of the things that Reverend Barber called for was a third Reconstruction. He, along with Reverend Liz Theo Harris and 3 anchoring organizations, one called the Cairo Center, another called the Poor People's Campaign, and another organization, merged their forces together. And what they were able to do was to relaunch the Poor People's Campaign. So from about 2018 to this present day, the Poor People's Campaign have been launching and has been growing. To today's present time, we are now in 45 different states. Not only are we taking on the issue of racism, militarism, and extreme materialism, but we have added to those evils, ecological devastation and the distorted narrative of religious nationalism. So those are the 5 interlocking evils that we are dedicated and devoted to organizing against. Our model of organizing that we use is what we call moral fusion organizing, where we try to bring all of the various issues together, both intersectionally, interracially, and across lines, so that we can build the big force that we need in order to tackle these interlocking evils that exist in our society. We've also had what we call these national assemblies. Every year, last year and the year before when we've had on average over 2.5 million people. This year, as we go back to to Washington, D.C., our goal is to bring out more low-wage workers, because we want to be able, once we get to Washington, D.C., to address all of these interlocking evils, and then from there, come back to our communities and go to the polls to bring about a mandate of change that we need at the state level and in our local areas. That is our goal. So it's important that people sign up. It's important that people get involved. It's important that we all join up with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival.
Thank you, Vaughn, so much. Thanks for the overview and the hype up for June 18th. I'm personally excited. And a lot of people here are from either Mass Peace Action or the Green Rainbow Party, and maybe are wondering why specifically our 2 organizations are so invested in this march. Because I guess at least I can speak for Mass Peace Action. Our makeup isn't traditionally low-wage workers, but still this is so important to the work we do. There's one quote by Reverend Barber that really stands out to me that I want to read, and it's really simple and straightforward, but it's just that we're spending too much money trying to blow up the world rather than save the world. This nation needs a heart transplant, and it's time to have a meeting. And this is so critical to the work MAPPA does. So now I'm excited to introduce Jonathan King, who's one of the co-chairs of MAPPA's board, who's going to speak about why we care about this.
Thank you, Kate, Vaughn. So, these are very, very difficult times. If you're in the peace movement, very bad times, right? Half the income taxes Americans send to the government is spent on war preparation, new weapons. And of course, 99% of Americans have no clue that that's where their income taxes are spent, because the government has never reported back to taxpayers how that money is spent. We have this situation where the Congress could vote $40 billion for military aid for Ukraine, and yet they couldn't find $5 billion to expand access to COVID-19 vaccines. I mean, it's absolutely insane, immoral situation. We have an election coming up where a wing of the Republican Party continues to move dangerously to the right, and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has been bought off by the war machine, voting for these outrageous budgets. It's a very difficult situation. There's no way that the existing organizations of the peace movement have the muscle to change what's going on in the nation. But if we look out there and we ask, well, what's the broadest organization that shares the position that militarism and the war economy are a core part of the problems. Why in the richest, most technologically advanced country on earth weren't we prepared for COVID-19? I'll tell you why, because the money that should have gone to vaccines and diagnostic, et cetera, and been drained off to, a new generation of nuclear weapons, missiles to the Saudis, which are raining down on Yemen, et cetera. So the Poor People's Campaign is absolutely clear that militarism and the diversion of the nation's wealth to war is what prevents housing the homeless, lifting up the minimum wage, providing health care for all, providing aid for women and children. And the Poor People's Campaign fundamental analysis, everybody in, nobody out, Black, brown, rich and poor. It's true that Mass Peace Action, we don't represent a poor and low wage income constituency, but we represent a group of people with a moral compass. And we understand that the way the nation is going, the way the budget is going is the wrong direction. And the Poor People's Campaign has reoriented the compass, pointed the way to go, and we need to join with them. Now, they have also analyzed the 2020 election and concluded that, thousands and thousands of poor registered voters stayed home in critical elections. They stayed home because they didn't see a future for change. So as Vaughn made clear and Kate made clear, if you go to the website for June 18th, the last phrase is "to the polls," right? This is gathering people in Washington, not just for a march, not just for a meeting, but to gather the troops to prepare to send them back into the battlefields, the elections of their home states. And we hope to be there with them. So thank you very much, those who have joined. And, it's going to be a historical event, and we want to be there.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I echo everything you say, and I think what really drives it home about why I care about this and why MAPA cares about this is just that the Poor People's Campaign is aiming, one thing they're aiming to do is address poverty in the United States and redistribute resources into communities. And in order to do that, we need to redistribute resources away from the US military. And so MAPA and the Poor People's Campaign goals are truly synonymous. Now I think it's perfect timing to ask Susan Mirsky, who's the chair of the Nuclear Disarmament Working Group at MAPA, to share the reason that she's actually joining us in DC. So Susan, you can go for it.
Hi, what a treat to be here tonight. So, I always knew that the Poor People's Campaign is really where it's at and reflects what is needed for a change in our society. And the thought is whatever, whenever, for the future. And we keep on fighting for what is fair and right. And, I thought the Poor People's Campaign is really morally, ethically important to me. But I have a bad back and I have hip problems. And I thought, I can't go. I'll just help out in whatever way I can. And then I listened to people. Oh, and I saw a clip of Reverend Barber walking, and he was walking with a cane. And I thought, man, if he can do that, I can do that. And I can go and just take care of myself and do whatever I can. But I am going to get there and speak out, because this is such an important time to take a stand and speak out and sing out, right? And do whatever we can to change what is happening in our society.
Thank you, Susan. I'm excited to be there with you. And now I'm going to bring up from the Green Rainbow Party, Lois, who's the co-chair of the Massachusetts Green Rainbow Party, to just explain why the Poor People's Campaign and June 18th are important to you.
Everyone. First of all, I want to explain who the Green Rainbow Party is because sometimes people get confused by our name. So we are the affiliate of the Massachusetts affiliate of the Green Party of the United States. The name comes from 2002, the Massachusetts Green Party merged with Mel King's Rainbow Coalition. So that's where the rainbow comes. And although as a political party, our main focus is on recruiting and running candidates for public office, we have no illusions that voting alone will remedy the multiple crises facing humanity. That's why we support the Poor People's and Low-Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington. It's absolutely essential to build a broad-based grassroots mass movement to confront the forces of greed, racism, militarism, environmental destruction, and the overall war on life on this planet. This march couldn't be more timely, as poor and working class people are bearing the brunt of all these multiple crises the most. It's time to send a message to the political class that, I'm sorry. I lost my place, hold on. Here I am. It's time to send a message to the political class that catering to the parasitic, predatory billionaire class, which has taken over all our institutions at the expense of the most vulnerable among us, will be met with massive pushback until they reverse their course. The kickoff date is June 18th. Let this not be a one and done event. After June 18th, the real work begins. We must build on this event through continued activism in our local communities and at the national level. Rest assured that the Green Rainbow Party will continue to be in solidarity with all those doing this work to support poor and working people in the struggle for economic and social justice. People, planet, and peace before profit is our guiding principle. Thanks to the Poor People's Campaign for putting this march together and MAPA for promoting it. Working together, we can turn the tide of destruction into a movement for peace, justice, and a livable world.
Thank you so much. I think it's pretty cool and exciting that so many groups and so many people across the country are supporting the Poor People's Campaign and are bringing people to show up on June 18th. And it's just really nice to hear your perspective on that. So I appreciate it. And now I'm inviting up Chloe, who's also an intern like me at Mass Peace Action and also a student at Northeastern. And she's going to speak about why she's specifically going to DC on June 18th. Go ahead, Chloe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chloe. There are lots of reasons why I decided to go on June 18th. But I kind of guess what first drew me into the Poor People's Campaign was meeting Kate, Vaughn, and Savina and other PPC point people. And I'm muted. Was I muted for that?
1 second, but you're good now.
Okay.
You're good.
And I found that the PPC community is lively, youthful, motivating, and unique. I really felt as an individual that I could make a difference and will make a difference by going to DC. Early on in the process, the other MAPA interns and I had a training session with Vaughn and Kate to learn and internalize the fundamental principles of PPC. And it was in a Zoom meeting, of course, but it didn't feel as if some Zoom meetings may feel boring and kind of drag on. And the energy that Kate and Vaughn brought really made the material we were learning much more interesting than just reading a piece of paper and you kind of don't really internalize it. So after this, I began to attend other organizing meetings and quickly learned that this is a trend that all participants of PPC bring. And I discovered that going to DC would introduce me to a plethora of activists that bring an energy and ideas I have yet to discover. The more I learned about PPC, the more I felt like I would be joining a group that is much bigger than any other movement I had been a part of, with values and goals that align with my own. Social justice has always been a part of my life since the beginning of high school, and I've participated in and led a variety of social justice projects, and attended different marches in Boston and then back home in San Antonio. With my past endeavors and my interest in the peace movement, signing on to work with PPC as part of my internship at MAPA was a given. Furthermore, I have never had the opportunity to march for what I believe in DC, in our nation's capital. As any young activist would and should, this is the biggest draw for me. Yes, I have marched in many other events, but going to DC excited me and motivates me in a way that other marches didn't. I know I'm just one individual, but joining with hopefully thousands from all over the country on the streets of DC will give more meaning to my work, fuel my energy, give me new ideas, and allow me to see just how one person makes a difference. And I've discussed several reasons why I'm going on June 18th, and there are many more. But I hope this resonated with some of you that are on the fence about going, and I promise you it'll be worth it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chloe. That was awesome. I agree, that first inter-meeting we had with Kate and Vaughn, like, it energized us all so much that we like basically asked Mass Peace Action if this could be one of our big intern projects, and it's been awesome to have that as one of our projects. And speaking of Kate, I'm now going to invite Kate up, who has been doing outreach coordination and lots of outreach for Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign, and who's right now going to lead us through a breathing exercise. We're about halfway through the webinar.
All right, thank you so much, Kate, and it's great to be with you all. So we're just going to take a moment at this halfway point to pause, because the forces that endeavor to keep us separate from one another sometimes also keep us separate from ourselves and even from our immediate surroundings, that it can be helpful to just take this time to take a quiet moment and check in. So if you are comfortable with it, you could close your eyes or just find a soft gaze. And let your attention move into your body. And as you do, you might just feel the ground beneath you, beneath your feet, if your feet are touching the ground or whatever you're sitting on. And if it is comfortable for you to do so, just take some time to notice the breath and simply allow your breath to move. As you do this, what kinds of sensations are here? So you might notice just any sensations in the body. Also anything at all that is present for you right now. Perhaps even an awareness of what brought you here tonight. And so we'll just take one more breath here. If you like, you can take a big breath in and a full exhale. And if you did have your eyes closed, you can just open up the eyes and kind of take in everyone who's here with us and just what's around you right now.
Thank you, Kate, so much. I don't know, that was just really nice. And I remember something Susan had said earlier. She's packing up and coming to DC, but still going to be like careful and care for herself and like make sure she's safe. And so it's nice to have these check-ins with ourselves as well and make sure we're like taking care of ourselves while we're doing this work. So I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're kind of about halfway through the event tonight, and we've learned what the Poor People's Campaign is, what the goals of June 18th are, and like why so many of us are going on June 18th and why we really care about this work. And so it's kind of about time for you to sign up and join us. My like main takeaway about this march is that it's really an unprecedented chance to just be alongside thousands of low-wage workers and all others from across the United States in solidarity with one another, against racial injustice, economic inequality, climate destruction, militarism, and religious nationalism. And I think we all have really deep self-interest in being there. And I think it will also just be a good time. So I'm going to be walking you through the process of registering. I know I saw at least one person in the chat ask about how to get a bus, so we're going to be doing that right now. But first, wanted to ask people in the chat, let us know if you're coming, and if so, which bus are you taking? I'm kind of curious to see where people are coming from. And if you haven't signed up for a bus yet, what bus do you want to get on? So we can pause for a moment and do that, and then we'll get into the actual registration. But I'll put it in the chat as I speak, but I'm Kate, and I'm getting on the bus from Boston. Okay, Cole's getting on the Boston bus. Kate is getting on the Greenfield bus. Awesome. Jax is on the Boston bus. Go Boston. Oh, thank you for that, Pat. Boston bus again. This is awesome. This is a lot of us. I'll give it one more minute. Okay. Going back up in the chat, and I remember Peter saying that you want to get on a bus from Worcester. Boston bus for Claire. Oh, Jenny, you're on the Boston bus too. That's exciting. California. That is awesome, Mary. And Pat, we're going to miss you, but I am going to send a link for the virtual option at some point tonight. So you can be with us in a geographically distant way. But for now, in terms of registration, if this works, okay, yeah. So Toby's already put the link in the chat once, but here is a link where you can sign up for your bus ticket. You'll fill out this form, and once you do, it will redirect you to rally.co/PPC, which is where you'll actually choose the location for your bus ticket. So anyone who's looking to register, I recommend you do that now in case you have any technical difficulties. Then we'll be here on the Zoom to help you with any questions that might come up. Either after the webinar's finished, we'll stay on, or we can do it right now, depending on if a lot of people have questions. But I'm also just going to pause now while people do that and open it up for questions in general. Oh my gosh, all signed up. Congratulations. That's exciting. Where are you coming from, if you don't mind putting in the chat? Out of just curiosity. And yeah, also questions if anybody has them. Go for it.
I'm just wondering if we were able to address Peter's question about the bus from Worcester.
That's awesome. So is Peter all signed up for Worcester?
Kate, I can provide a little more updates on our bus codes.
That would be so amazing, Toby. Sorry, I couldn't see you on the screen, so I didn't want to call on you in case
Okay.
you weren't prepared. But everyone, this is Toby, who's been like really leading everything with the buses for Massachusetts, and it's the reason we're all getting on buses. So go ahead, Toby.
First of all, we encourage everybody to sign up for the buses. We had a code from the national PPC that subsidized free bus seats, and that code has expired. And we're in the process of securing about another 50 subsidized no-cost seats for people to meet who would like them. And we don't have the code for that yet. So I have changed the registration form so that if you're looking for a bus seat and you click you put in your name and so forth, you go to the next page. First of all, it says if you want to sign up for a regular fare seat, just do so. The second thing it says is if you want to get a no-cost seat, at the moment you have to email us, and the email is on that page, mappc.21@gmail.com. And we're going to maintain a list of people who are requesting the free seats. And as soon as we have the code, the new code from Rally will sign you up. But we're expecting to get at least about 50 more no-cost seats for people who need them. So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is about bus captains. Each bus is going to have probably more than one, at least two bus captains. And the role of the bus captain is, and also we're hoping to have volunteers come meet the bus. And initially on the check-in, the volunteers and the bus captain are going to check vaccination status that's required to get on the bus. They'll pass out masks if anybody needs one. We're also hoping to coordinate volunteers who are going to bring a box of snacks and water and food for the buses. And then the bus captains are also going to have our meal and other various stipends that we're providing for people on the bus. And on the bus from Boston, for example, we know there's two organized groups. We now have like 45 people on that bus. And one of the organized groups is through the Episcopal Church and working with a number of unhoused people who are coming down on that bus. And another group is called We Got Us, which are Harvard students who are also very involved in justice organizing. And there's about 15 of them that are also coming on that bus. So it should be quite a good group of people. And there's no limit to the number of seats. Once we fill up a bus, we roll over and we start a new bus. And probably one of the buses from Boston will stop in Worcester. The other thing I want to mention is anytime you see a stop with less than 5 people, if there are going to be people at that stop, we want to guarantee that that stop isn't axed by rally.co. And the way we do that is we buy additional tickets. So for example, Worcester might have 5 people, it might have 10 people, but as soon as we have 5 confirmed people, we know there's going to be a Worcester stop. Same thing in Pittsfield. Right now, Pittsfield has just 1 or 2 people, but if those people are confirmed with us, we will guarantee a Pittsfield stop by purchasing a couple of extra seats. That's pretty much it right now. A lot of the details about the buses, the actual routes and the exact times that they're leaving and so forth won't be finalized until about a week before June 17th. So right now we're in the sign up mode and then we'll get into the organizing mode.
Thank you so much, Toby. That was really helpful and some good new updates for me too. Again, if anyone's got questions about that, feel free, put it in the chat, or you can actually just come off mute and ask if you'd rather. And also right now, the link I just put in the chat is so that you can register through the National Poor People's Campaign for the virtual option for the rally, if that's what you're looking for. So that's in the chat now. I'll pause for just a moment in case there are questions and to give people more time to sign up. But it's cool to have people on this call that are coming from all over. Okay, I see Claire said, curious about the plans and the logistics of the activities for the day. I personally actually don't know details about this. I'm not sure if anyone on the call does and wants to come off mute.
Yeah, I will fill in people for what we know. It's evolving. The buses are planning to, the Massachusetts delegation is planning to meet at the reflecting pool. We don't have an exact spot yet, but all of the people on the buses and the bus captains are going to have the Google map with a pin to show exactly where to walk to meet up with everybody else near the reflecting pool. And that's where the sort of staging for the entire rally is taking place. And then there's going to be a small march, not a long march, but possibly even a circular march. And then there'll be a stage with the speakers and multiple screens and like, you know, like the inauguration type of thing where you see multi-levels of screens so everybody has a good opportunity to see and hear the speakers. The formal program, I think the march will probably kick off somewhere around 10 a.m. It's going to run for 3 or 4 hours, the program. It'll end early afternoon on Saturday, and the buses will start to come back to Boston around 3:45 or 4 o'clock. And the idea is to get back to Massachusetts around midnight or slightly after midnight. And one of the other things the bus captains are going to assist with is people who need transportation once you get to South Station at midnight and if the T is not running and you need additional help with transportation, we're going to be on top of that as well. So that's my update.
Thank you again. That was also very helpful. Hope that answers your question, Claire, and anyone else's. And I'm sure more details will start coming out about the day as we get even closer, which will be really exciting. Someone says, oh, Mary Teresa says, there might be breakfast before the march. Yeah, I'm sure there's something like that. And I know that food is definitely being provided for everybody. So that includes breakfast. Fantastic. Okay, we're almost getting to the end, but now I'm going to ask Kate to come back quickly and just share the really, really incredible work she's been doing with Poor People's Campaign and one final story from someone about why they're going to DC on June 18th.
All right, thanks so much, Kate. And again, great to be here with you. I'm excited to see people signing up. So as Kate mentioned before, I'm working with outreach coordination with Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign. I live in Western Massachusetts, so I've also been helping to build the campaign out here in this region. So I come to this campaign as someone who did experience poverty with my son as a single mom. We lived in 10 houses in as many years. And like many people, we really struggled to put food on the table, to keep warm. I lived in a rural area where we only had a wood stove, and I learned how to cut up old furniture to burn to keep warm. And I know when I look at my experience that it was actually relatively mild compared to the experiences that so many people are going through right now. But at the same time, the blame and the scorn that are connected with poverty are something that I am not going to ever forget. And my son and I knew that, in addition to struggling to find housing, to put food on the table, we both knew, and he was a child, but we both knew also that we should keep silent because of the stigma that's attached to poverty. And this is something that spoke to me very powerfully about this campaign. And it's really part of why I'm involved here today. And so, right, this is the work of all of us to unhook ourselves from this neoliberal narrative and actually speak truth about the policy choices that are creating what Reverend Barber has called social murder. Right. So right now, like, everyone's been impacted by the interlocking injustices in some way, some more than others, but all of our humanity is at stake right now. And this is an opportunity where we can come together and we can make change together. And it's one that should not be missed. So I really look forward to seeing some of you, many of you down there. I urge everyone to attend. And of course, if you can't physically attend, virtually is a great option as well. So thank you again. It's great to be here tonight.
Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing your story and just like giving this personal, real experience of the truly cruel and inhumane impacts of the policies that we're going to be fighting against on June 18th. I guess sometimes it can get so big and over our heads. It's important to remember why we're doing this. And yeah, so we're almost done, and we're going to close out with another song from Jenny. Again, a really beautiful way to finish us off for the night. So Jenny, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as we're approaching the date, June 18th, I'm getting increasingly excited. And I woke up in the morning with my mind set on freedom, justice, a moral revival, love, and hope. This is what we need to hold on to. And another wonderful thing about the PPC is the diverseness in all ways, and also for myself is very involved with interfaith work. I love that aspect too. So every second time we sing Hallelujah as the Christians and the Jews, and every second time we sing Allahu as our Muslim brothers and sisters. Sing along. I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom, set on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom, set on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. Sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I woke up this morning with my mind set on justice, set on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind set on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind set on justice. Sing Allahu, Allahu, Hallelujah. I woke up this morning with my mind set on a moral revival, set on a moral revival. I'm looking this morning with my mind set on a moral revival. I woke up this morning with my mind set on a moral revival. Allahu, hallelujah, hallelujah. I woke up this morning with my mind, it was set on change, set on change. I woke up this morning with my mind, it was set on change, set on change. I woke up this morning with my mind set on change. Sing Allahu, Allahu, Hallelujah. Let's sing the last verse about victory. How about that? I woke up this morning with my mind set on victory. I woke up this morning with my mind, it was set on victory. I woke up this morning with my mind, it was set on victory. Sing Allahu, Allahu, Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you, and see you on the 18th of June and beyond.
My goodness, thank you, Jenny. And yeah, see everybody on the 18th. This is what I learned a couple months ago. Poor People's Campaign finishes every meeting out with a forward together, not one step back. So I want to do that tonight. And everyone come off mute for that because it makes it far more exciting and powerful. I'll say, you can see that on my shirt, forward together, and then everyone else says, not one step back. 3 times. So forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. There's like 20 of us who are going to see each other in DC, which is really exciting. And yeah, I'll follow up by email. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.